The air in Savannah, Georgia, was heavy with summer heat. The kind that stuck to your skin and carried the faint tang of magnolia and low-country shrimp boils. Emily Harper stood frozen on the wraparound porch of her parents' historic home. Her pulse hammering like it knew something her mind hadn't caught up to yet. At 36, Emily was the unassuming powerhouse behind Magnolia Hall, a breathtaking event venue in the heart of Savannah's riverfront district. But to her family, she was just the quiet daughter who paid the bills, until tonight, when the truth would crack wide open. Inside, the dining room glowed under a chandelier that had seen 3 generations of Harpers. Her mother, Vivian, greeted her with a smile as sharp as cut glass. "Emily, darling, still in that navy blazer?" she said, brushing a kiss past her cheek. "A pop of color might do you some good." Emily forced a tight smile, shrugging it off. Her father, Richard, was already at the table, fork deep in a slice of pecan-crusted pork, staring like the plate might solve the national debt. And then there was Chloe, her younger sister, 33, sprawled across a velvet chaise like she was auditioning for a reality show. Her sequined dress caught the light, a silent brag about money she hadn't earned. "Well, look who's back," Chloe drawled, standing with a smirk that could curdle milk. "Savannah's own spreadsheet queen. What's it been, 6 months? Did you finally organize your inbox?" Emily didn't bite. She slid into a chair across from Chloe, her eyes catching the heirloom china on the table, reserved for holidays. Crises, or ambushes, that was her first warning. Dinner was a masterclass in Southern pretense. Vivian rambled about the Azalea Festival. Richard muttered about downtown traffic. And Chloe posted a mid-meal Instagram story, tilting her phone to crop Emily out. Emily chewed her cornbread, trying to convince herself this was just another family night. Then Chloe stood, wineglass raised, her voice dripping with pageant queen charm. "I've got big news," she announced, eyes glinting. "My 34th birthday is coming up. And it's gonna be a showstopper. Think Gatsby meets Coachella." Emily kept eating, uninterested. "I've booked the perfect rooftop on the riverfront," Chloe went on. "Oyster bar, live jazz, drone videography, a vintage Rolls-Royce for the entrance. Total cost? A cool $175. Emily's fork stopped midair. She set it down, waiting for the joke. It didn't come. Chloe pointed at her, voice sharp as a switchblade. "And you, big sis, get to foot the bill. Let's be real, you're not exactly blowing that cash on a social life." The room went still. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked louder than it should have. Emily looked to Vivian, expecting her to shut it down. Instead, Vivian tilted her head, her pearls catching the light. "Honey," it'd mean the world to Chloe. "You've done so well for yourself, don't you think it's time to share the blessings?" Richard kept cutting his pork. Not a word, not a glance. The betrayal landed like a punch to the gut. Emily wasn't their daughter, she was their ATM. Her voice stayed low, but it shook. "I need some air." She pushed back from the table and walked out, the screen door slamming behind her. Back at her understated townhouse, she poured a bourbon and sank onto a barstool, trying to scrub the night from her mind. Her phone lit up. Tara, her operations manager and the only person who ever saw through the Harper family charade, texted, "Check Chloe's Instagram." Now, Emily opened it. A reel played. On one side, Chloe toasting with her event planner, all teeth and champagne flutes. On the other, a shaky video of Emily's 12-year-old Honda pulling into her driveway. Paint chipped, windows down. Caption: "When you're loaded, sister lives like she's dodging the IRS." Comments flooded in. "That house looks like a panic attack. She drives that? Lol. Low-key flex or just low-key sad?" Emily's grip tightened on her glass, her jaw so tense she thought her teeth might crack. She wanted to fire back, to tell every commenter she'd built Magnolia Hall from nothing, brick by brick. Instead, she closed the app, her breath shallow, the likes still climbing. 2 days later, Emily was knee-deep in vendor contracts when Vivian swept into her office unannounced, a tin of homemade pralines in hand. "Just thought I'd brighten your day," she said, setting the tin on Emily's desk. "You know, A receptionist would give this place some charm. Emily managed a thin smile. Then Vivian slid a manila envelope across the desk. Her voice syrupy. I brought you a little something to review. Emily opened it, expecting a thank you note or a recipe. Instead, it was a budget for Chloe's 34th extravaganza. In bold, underlined in gold Sharpie, venue contribution, Emily Harper. $175. Confirmed. Confirmed? Emily's voice cut like a blade. Who signed my name to this? Vivian's smile didn't flinch. Darling, let's not make a fuss. Chloe can't afford this. And your father and I are on a fixed income. She's your sister. Emily leaned forward, her eyes locked on her mother's. She dragged me online. Publicly. Vivian waved a hand. Oh, she's just having fun. Emily's voice dropped. Cold. You're asking me to bankroll someone who turned my life into a meme? Vivian's tone sharpened, her southern drawl tightening. I'm not asking. Emily, I'm telling you what's expected. You've always been the steady one. Emily slid the pralines back across the desk. Thanks for stopping by. Vivian stood, smoothing her linen dress like she'd won. Let me know if you want the planner's contact. She's a gem. She left, her perfume hanging in the air like a threat. Emily didn't scream. She walked to her office window, staring at the cobblestone street below. Her jaw locked tight. They didn't ask, they demanded. They expected her to pay for their silence. Their approval. Their love. She was done playing that game. A week later, Emily was sorting invoices when Tara walked in, holding a sleek envelope like it might bite. This just came via courier, she said, her voice flat. From Chloe's fiancé's assistant. Marked urgent. Addressed to you. Emily slid it open. Inside was a contract for a venue she didn't recognize. The Riverfront Starlight Terrace. Her name was listed as Family Financial Guarantor, with fine print stating she'd cover all unpaid balances, penalties, and legal fees if Chloe defaulted. Emily let out a short, bitter laugh. She actually thought I'd sign this blind. Tara crossed her arms. She thought shame would do it for you. Emily tucked the contract into a drawer labeled evidence. Let her think she's winning, she said. She opened her laptop, drafted an email to the assistant. Subject: Contract submission. Magnolia Hall does not accept unsolicited financial agreements. All future correspondence must go through our legal team. Unapproved documents will be discarded. E. Harper. She hit send, then added a recurring calendar alert. Audit family financial requests. No more surprises, she muttered. This wasn't about hurt feelings anymore, it was strategy. The following Saturday, Emily was doing her morning walkthrough at Magnolia Hall, clipboard in hand, checking chandeliers and linen deliveries. The venue was her sanctuary, a testament to her grit. With its oak-paneled ballroom and ivy-draped terraces, Tara trailed behind, tablet glowing. Did you greenlight peonies for next weekend's gala? She asked. Frowning, Emily shook her head. I haven't touched next weekend's bookings. Tara's eyes narrowed. Someone did. Peonies, custom ice fountains, a string quartet, and a permit for rooftop fireworks. Emily glanced at the tablet. Client initials. CH4. Her stomach twisted. She didn't, Emily said, almost to herself. Tara's brow arched. Oh, she absolutely did. They pulled up the booking records. There it was. Magnolia Hall's Platinum Package. Reserved through a third-party planner for Chloe's birthday weekend. No call, no email, no permission. Chloe had booked Emily's own venue like it was a random Airbnb. She's boxing you in, Tara said. If you cancel now, she'll spin it like you're the villain. It was a bold move. Manipulative but brilliant. Emily opened the security footage from the night before. There was Chloe, gliding across the ballroom in stilettos, waving her arms like a conductor, directing a planner Emily didn't know. She laughed, spun, pointed at the terrace, mouthing, "This is my moment." She acted like Magnolia Hall was hers. Emily's eyes narrowed, her voice low. She thinks I won't call her bluff in public. Tara stayed quiet, recognizing the steel in her boss's tone. Emily didn't cancel the booking. She created a new folder on her desktop. Unauthorized access. Document every move she makes. She said, she wants a spectacle? I'll make sure it's one she never forgets. The chandelier in Magnolia Hall's grand ballroom cast 1,000 tiny prisms across the polished marble floor. Each flicker a silent promise of elegance. Emily Harper stood in her upstairs office. The glow of security monitors painting her face in soft blues. Below, her sister Chloe strutted through the arched entryway like she was walking a red carpet. Her laughter echoing off the walls. It was Saturday afternoon in Savannah, Georgia, and the air buzzed with anticipation, not for a wedding or a gala, but for a showdown Emily had been orchestrating since Chloe's betrayal. Tonight, the Harper family's house of cards would collapse, and Emily would be the one holding the match. The monitors showed Chloe in full performance mode. Her fiancé, Landon, trailing behind her, his face a mix of devotion and unease. His parents, Evelyn and Charles Davenport, moved with the measured grace of old Southern money, their eyes scanning the venue like appraisers at an auction. Chloe gestured wildly at the spiral staircase, her voice carrying through the audio feed. This place is pure magic. Isn't it? Custom chandeliers from Venice. Hand-carved oak paneling. The owner's a genius. Super exclusive. I pulled some strings to book it. Evelyn raised a brow, her lips pursing. And who is this owner? Chloe's smile faltered, but she recovered with a toss of her hair. Oh, we go way back. It's all handled. Emily's lips twitched into a faint smile. She adjusted the cuffs of her tailored charcoal blazer, her reflection in the office window sharp and unyielding. Chloe thought she was directing this scene, but she'd walked onto Emily's stage. Tara, Emily's operations manager, stood by the door, her tablet glowing with the day's schedule. They're on the terrace now, she said, her voice low. You ready? Emily met her gaze, her eyes steady. I've been ready for years. She nodded once, and Tara pressed a button on her tablet, cueing the ambient jazz to fade. The silence was deafening. Emily descended the grand staircase, her heels clicking against the marble like a metronome. Every head turned, Chloe's mid-laugh, Landon's hesitant, Evelyn's curious, Charles's assessing. She paused halfway down, her hand resting lightly on the banister, and locked eyes with Chloe. For a split second, her sister's face froze, a deer caught in headlights. Emily offered the smallest, sharpest smile, then continued her descent, her posture flawless, her presence commanding. Welcome to Magnolia Hall, she said, extending a hand to Evelyn. I'm Emily Harper, the owner and creative director. The air shifted. Evelyn's eyes widened, a flicker of respect crossing her face as she shook Emily's hand. A pleasure, Ms. Harper. Charles tilted his head, his voice warm but probing. You built this yourself? Emily nodded, her tone calm but firm. Every brick, every detail. This is my life's work. Chloe stood rooted to the spot, her mouth slightly open, her champagne flute trembling in her hand. You own this? She stammered, her voice cracking. But you live in that shack. Emily turned to her, her gaze unyielding. A wise woman doesn't flaunt her wealth, she builds it, quietly, and lets it speak for itself. Evelyn's lips curved into a slow, approving smile. How refreshing, she said, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too many pretenders. I was beginning to think discretion was a lost art. Charles nodded, his eyes never leaving Emily. Impressive, Ms. Harper, very impressive. Landon looked at Emily, then at Chloe, his expression shifting from confusion to something closer to clarity. For the first time, he saw the woman he'd underestimated. Chloe's face flushed, her fists clenching as she tried to regain control. This is my event, she snapped, her voice shrill. I planned every detail. Emily didn't flinch. She turned to Tara, her voice smooth as silk. Please escort the Davenports to the East Terrace. I'll join them shortly. Tara nodded, gesturing gracefully toward the corridor. As the Davenports moved, Chloe lingered, her breath hitching, her eyes darting like a cornered animal. Emily walked past her without a glance, her heels echoing in the silence. For the first time in her life, Emily didn't need Chloe's validation, or anyone's. She had the floor, and it was hers alone. On the terrace, the Davenports admired the view, Savannah's riverfront glowing under a peach-colored sunset. The air thick with the scent of gardenias. Evelyn pulled Emily aside near a marble fountain. Her voice low. You built this from nothing? She asked. Her eyes searching. Emily nodded. From the ground up. Every contract. Every late night. Every risk. Evelyn's gaze softened, a rare warmth breaking through her polished exterior. You're the kind of woman who makes things happen without shouting about it. That's rare. She paused, then added, our family values that. Emily felt a quiet surge of pride, not the kind that needed applause, but the kind that settled deep, like roots. Behind them, Chloe's voice cut through, desperate now. Evelyn, wait, can we talk? She sounded small, stripped of her usual bravado. Evelyn didn't turn. Charles approached Landon, placing a hand on his shoulder. Son, you might want to rethink what you're tying yourself to, he said, his tone blunt. Landon glanced at Chloe, then at Emily, his silence louder than any words. Chloe's composure cracked. She stumbled back, pressing herself against a mirrored wall, her mascara streaking as she slid to the floor, a sob catching in her throat. Emily didn't stop. She didn't gloat. She walked past, her head high, her pulse steady, her heart finally free. That night, Emily returned to her townhouse. The lights off except for a single lamp in the kitchen. The silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was hers. Earned. She poured a glass of sweet tea, the ice clinking softly, and sat at the counter. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father. Can we talk? It's still her birthday week. Emily stared at it, then dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Hey, sweetheart, he said, his voice soft, pleading. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. Okay? Emily let out a quiet laugh. Not bitter, just clear. I stood right in front of you. Dad, all of you, and you still didn't see me. He sighed. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, she said, her voice calm but unyielding. It always has been. He tried again. We just want the family to stay together. Emily cut in, her words steady. It was never together. It was built around Chloe, and I'm done holding it up. He paused, then whispered, You don't mean that. I do, she said, and hung up. She slid her phone into a drawer, closed it gently, and leaned back. Outside, Savannah's skyline twinkled, the distant hum of a jazz band drifting through the open window. For the first time, Emily wasn't waiting for a call, an apology, or a thank you. She was just breathing. 2 weeks later, the quiet wasn't empty, it was steady. Emily was at her kitchen table, sorting vendor invoices, when an email popped up. Subject: I'm sorry. From Richard Harper. She clicked it, her heart still. You were right. I should have stood up. I'm sorry. 5 words. Late but honest. She read it 3 times. Then deleted it, a small smile tugging at her lips. Magnolia Hall was thriving. 4 weddings booked, a corporate retreat, and a charity ball that had the local news buzzing. Tara was fielding calls from planners in Charleston and Atlanta, all asking for the woman who runs Magnolia Hall. That afternoon, a notification pinged. A wedding blog post titled Influencer's Lavish Birthday Bash Cancelled. Magnolia Hall stays silent. The article didn't name Chloe, but it didn't need to. Curious, Emily checked her sister's Instagram. The latest post was a dimly lit video. Chloe barefaced, her voice soft. I got it wrong, she started, staring into the camera. Emily closed the app before it finished. She didn't need to hear it, not because she was angry, but because it didn't matter anymore. Standing on her porch that evening, a glass of wine in hand, Emily watched the sun dip below the live oaks. She'd driven past her parents' house that morning, slowed for a moment, then kept going, not out of spite, but because the pull was gone. Peace wasn't an apology or a victory lap. Peace was saying no and meaning it. Peace was walking away clean. This wasn't about revenge, it was about reclamation. Emily had spent years thinking loyalty meant shrinking, that being a good sister meant carrying everyone else's weight. Now she knew better. Success wasn't about being the loudest in the room. It was about building something real and standing by it. No matter who tried to claim the spotlight. She'd drawn a line, not with anger, but with clarity, and she'd never felt stronger.